Boop, boop, boop. Tilt it up. Get a nice angle going. Hey, that didn't shut. You want to give it another click? Mm-hmm. All right, today we're going to read an article called, we're going to do an assignment called your Meet the Author worksheet. It's on page 11 in your study guide. The reason we are doing this and the next worksheet, great, where we're going to look at the evacuations, is because you need to know why your author was writing this piece of work. So follow along. I'm going to read, and then we'll answer questions as we go. Got it? Okay. So this is it's an article, but what type of article are we reading?
Obituary.
An obituary. Why do we write and read obituaries?
To know about people.
To know about people who have passed. Yeah, to know all of their life's events. So this is his obituary, and here we go. William Golding, the Nobel Prize winning author of the classic Lord of the Flies and other disturbing novels, exploring the dark side of human nature. He died yesterday in his home in Perranworthal, England. He was 81. So your first question says, when and probably how did he die? When did he die?
Yesterday.
When was this published?
Oh.
Do some sleuthing.
June 20th,
So he died,
19.
that's right, 1993, early 90s. I remember that time. You do not.
Okay, well, how?
Next paragraph.
Oh.
A heart attack was the probable cause, said Matthew Evans, chairman of Mr. Golding's publisher, Faber and Faber. So number 2.
When?
Oh, nope, that's still number 1.
When did he die?
Yeah.
June 19th, 1993, of a heart attack. He was 73. Oops, sorry. He was 81. That's in that same paragraph. Question number 2. He was 81. So nice ripe old age of 81. He was 73 when he won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1983, and he was knighted in 1988. Although he was primarily a novelist, his writing also included short stories, dramas, essays, and poetry. So let's answer our next question. Number 3, of what country was he a native? Kyle, where did he live? You may know this already from what country the boys are from, because it is the same. England, that's right. And my next question, 2 honors that he received. We'll see some more in the article. But what 2 did you see?
Nobel Prize.
Nobel Prize, that's amazing. And what else? And another amazing feat. Emily, did you hear it? The other amazing award that he got? Tristan? He was knighted. That's so cool. He's a special guy. So you are ready for question 5. We're looking for the theme that he was best known for. Yes?
Okay. So, number 3, of what country was he native? Would that be England?
It would.
Okay.
Okay.
What was the 2 things? Nobel Prize?
Oh my god.
First knighted. He was knighted. What does that mean?
He became a
Take
knight.
the sword. They touched his shoulders and made him feel
You need to watch some Game of Thrones, yeah.
No.
Okay.
All right, we're ready to move on. Whew. He was best known for his themes of the struggle between good and evil, and for symbolism that invited interpretations on many levels. Indeed, some critics complained that he relied too heavily on symbolism that weighed down his work. So Logan, he's best known for what important theme? You will remember this even when you're a grandfather. This book is the book for this theme. What 2 things going against each other? Good and evil. Lauren, anything to add? Okay, yeah. And you'll see there's even more. What he argues is that there's evil in all of us.
Is that number 5?
Well,
That's number 5. I would agree. I think he's 100% accurate. All of us, Hadley, all of us. And number 6 happened in that paragraph as well. Some critics say, what about his symbolism?
Too heavily.
Tristan? Oh, sorry.
You relied too heavily on it.
Yeah,
and it
which
weighted
to
his
me
work
as an
down.
English teacher, that's like saying I have too much money. Like symbolism is great. I love it. You can't tell me I have too much. But
I mean, Probably heavily
Mhm.
on what?
Too much symbolism. It weighed down his novel. Thank you. Great listening. Now we're ready for number 7. After 21 rejections, Lord of the Flies was finally issued in 1954 as his first published book, and it remains his most popular. How many? Yeah? 21. That's a lot. I think that's memorable and notable. That's a lot of rejections.
But then
He
it
kept
eventually
trying.
got published, so.
He kept trying, so good for him.
Adapt, improvise, and overcome.
It portrays a group of proper British schoolboys who, when marooned on a deserted island, by a plane crash during a global atomic war, they lose their societal inhibitions and they regress into blood-curdling tribal savagery. That's coming up. His allegory, it achieved a cult status, and the book inspired 2 films. It was translated into 26 languages, it sold millions of copies, and it became a standard of college and high school reading lists. So, Lauren, how many languages? 26. That's amazing. Write that down. That's number 8. Now we're looking at his background. Number 9 says, how did his teaching inspire this novel? I mean, you write about what you know, or like what you believe in. Yep. So let's see what about him. Where do we see evil in his life? Okay. Sir William recalled that as a teacher, he once allowed a class of boys to complete freedom in a debate, but he had to intervene as mayhem broke out. And that incident and his own war experiences inspired Lord of the Flies. It was a turning point for me, he said. I began to see what people were capable of doing. World War II was a turning point for him. He began to see what people were capable of doing. Anyone who moved through those years without understanding that man produces evil as a bee produces honey must have been blind or wrong in the head. Another time he said, look out. He said, the evil is in us all. He confessed that as a youth, he was sometimes a spoiled brat and a bully, and that he enjoyed hurting people. Okay, so what's that?
Sounds like me.
Oh. Number 9. His teaching inspired the novel. What happened with a bunch of boys in his classroom when he was in charge?
Kids going AWOL.
They went not AWOL. I think that also means
They
missing.
caused
But yeah,
mayhem.
they caused mayhem. They had trouble. Without his constant supervision of being an adult, keeping rules and order, those kids were like, blah, blah, blah.
Is that like
Number 9.
foreshadowing what's to come?
It is. So number 9, one day in class, he let boys just like do their own thing, like have a group assignment. They worked on it together, have a class discussion instead of him like facilitating it, and it was chaos. It was bad. So
like,
that made a note to him.
so what you're basically saying is like how if they don't have a certain way, then the evil goes through.
And his first example is the way that we keep the bad chaos out of there. The chaos that leads to evil is to have adult supervision. Because if you think of think of the 6th graders, if they were left all alone all day long, what would happen in there?
Someone
It'd
would
be
die.
crazy.
I don't think anyone, hopefully, but yeah, it would be crazy in there.
Someone's
Okay.
throat.
Number
So,
10.
Hold on.
Not only did his experience in the classroom inspire him, but so did his service with the Navy in World War II. Devin, what did he see in World War II? Why don't you take your earbuds out so you can... Yep. Can you be more specific? Logan.
The evil that people are capable of.
Yes. What a great... I mean, duh. Of course he saw that in a war experience. Will you take your earbuds? Thank you. Thank you. And 11, same thing, more bad stuff. How may his youth have inspired some of the characters' actions? What was he like as a child?
A bully.
A bully. He liked hurting people, which I one time wrote a paper on. Humans are terrible. We like hurting people. Name another animal that does that.
What?
Wasps.
What? Oh yeah, you're right. Wasps.
Yeah.
Wasps are jerks. Humans and wasps.
When they made this stuff.
I hate wasps.
And other animals don't mean to hurt people.
They don't.
just
They just
Our
that's
friends.
right. But we are like, I want to
The
see you
wasps
suffer.
are just jerks.
I agree. You're right.
So
Like
useless.
Humans and wasps.
Useless animals.
Snakes.
Don't they die after they sting somebody?
I don't know.
What are
Those
they
are
I
bees?
hope so.
Those are bees.
Yeah.
They don't
Oh.
produce
Bees.
honey.
I don't know.
They
We can
just
ask Mr. Blast. Moving on.
and die.
Comparing him to Melville, which you don't know that person. He's the guy who wrote Moby Dick. He's kind of a big deal. Blah blah blah. Comparing him to that guy, the Noble Citation said, William Golding's novels and stories are not only somber moralities and dark myths about evil and treacherous, destructive forces, but they're also colorful tales of adventure, which can be read as such full of narrative joy, inventiveness, and excitement. So, number 12, his stories are paradoxes. Not only are they about evil and serious things, but what else are they?
Like,
We're not only going to read about bad stuff happening on this island. Remember, paradoxes
colorful
too.
tales.
Yeah, colorful tales of what?
Like,
Of we. Yeah, we're going to see lots of great adventure on this island. A paradox means we have two different contradicting realities happening at the same time, and it's like, what? So we're going to see terrible things, but we're also going to see like fun, adventure, boys on an island.
Yeah.
Yay!
The fun part and the bad part.
We'll see the fun part and the bad part, yep. Author Malcolm Bradbury described Sir William's as a dominant figure since the 1950s in English letters, and he said that Lord of the Flies was a world classic. He was a remarkable writer. His work is peculiarly timeless. Describing his own work, though, Sir William, Mr. William Golding, said, I am not a theologian or a philosopher. I am a storyteller. Despite his reputation for pessimism, what's pessimism? If you're a
Like
pessimist,
bitterness,
like bitterness, yep. Despite his reputation for bitterness, pessimism on human nature, he said, I think goodwill will overcome even evil in the end. I don't quite know how, but I have that simple faith. So even though he wrote one of the most famous books about people just being terrible jerks to each other and the fact that we have evil in us that we need to control, what does he really ultimately believe about humans?
You can overcome it.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. What a hopeful nature. It reminds me of the Anne Frank quote that despite it all, she still believes that there's goodness in all. Like, it's the same thing. Crazy.
That's kind of wacky.
It is kind of wacky. Although his succeeding works never matched Lord of the Flies in sales, they continued to win close critical attention. They included, and then there's a list of them that you can see, The Inheritors, Pincher Martin, Freefall, The Spire, The Pyramid, Darkness Visible, and Rites of Passage. Pincher Martin describes the last moments of a drowning sailor. I would read that. Rites of Passage won Britain's premier literary award, the Booker Prize, in 1980. It describes a voyage to Australia in the 19th century, showing how a pompous cleric, that would be like a religious person who thinks he's very great, how he becomes involved in a sexual scandal and dies of shame. Oh, yikes. Maybe I'll read that one too.
Noise.
In 1987, Sir William completed a sequel to Rites of Passage called Close Quarters, a third novel, Fire Down Below, and he finished the series in 1989. His own favorite was The Inheritors, about the destruction of Neanderthal man by Homo sapiens. So they're all about, like, humans. Yeah, falling apart.
Even though he was one.
Yeah.
Was.
Yeah. William Golding was born on September 19th, 1911 in Cornwall. That's in England. He grew up in a 14th century house next to a graveyard, and he tried writing a novel at the age of 12. How old are you guys? 15?
15 August.
He was educated at Marlborough Grammar School, where his father taught, and then he studied science and later English at Oxford University's Brasenose College. He graduated in 1934 and received a master's degree in 1960. After college, he became a settlement house worker, and then he joined the Royal Navy. He served as a lieutenant commanding a rocket-firing ship. Wow. And he took part in the 1944 Normandy landings, and he developed an enduring love of sailing and the sea. Early in his career, he took up teaching English and philosophy and acting and directing and writing in London, and he once spoke of death that he'd rather there wasn't an afterlife, really. I'd much rather not be me for thousands of years. Me? Ha! He spent his last years quietly with his wife of 54 years, the former Anne Brookfield, in their home near Falmouth in the Cornwall area on the southwest coast. They had 2 kids, David and Judith, who also survived. Okay, so that's a nice little list. Yeah, right. Bravo to him. Let's answer our questions. 13. How would you describe in your own words, Lauren, we'll start with you, his outlook on human nature?
Well, that the good can take over the evil inside a person.
That the good can, yeah. Would you say he's ultimately thinks humans are great or thinks humans have a lot of flaws we need to deal with? Yeah, I would agree. 14, what did he do in the Navy?
Didn't it say a rocket pilot? Didn't it say?
Yes.
A lieutenant commanding a rocket firing
Thank you.
ship.
Yep, he worked on a rocket firing ship. It's really cool.
Wow.
15, besides the Navy, in what other occupations did he excel?
Teaching.
Yes. And he did some acting. There's a big
Sailing.
paragraph here. Sailing, yep. So he likes water, he likes learning.
Writing, directing, acting.
Yeah, all of the communication arts. 16, okay, this comes from here. I ask you, what can you tell about his opinion of himself by how he thinks of death? And this is what he said about that. I'd rather that there wasn't an afterlife. I'd much rather not be me for thousands of years. Me? Ha. If you don't want to be yourself for thousands of years, for eternity, like in heaven.
He doesn't like himself.
Yeah, you don't have a high esteem of yourself. Or else you're being like, you're not telling the truth, but like, yeah, that's what I read out of that paragraph. 17, your last question. And this is not on the study guide or in the study guide, this is me. Devin, let's see if you can get this one first. You ready? So Golding, our author, he got out of the classroom. He quit teaching to focus on his writing. That's very ironic. So he left the classroom to get out to focus on his writing. Why? What's weird about that?
He wrote a book about a bunch of kids that go to school.
He did.
Oh,
And where is this book
crazy.
now?
It's like
Super famous.
Super famous.
probably online.
What's that?
Is it probably online?
It probably is. It is online. You can read it online. But so he left so that he could get out of the classroom. Where is he now?
Dead.
And
A good writer.
where are you experiencing him?
Classroom.
He's back in the classroom.
Wow.
Thank you. Wow. Poosh.
Oh man.
Oh wow. You guys, great.
That's cuckoo.
Okay, now we're gonna read the next one, but I'm gonna pause this so we can have 2 separate videos.
Two separate.
Yep.
Neutral.
Wait,
Let's
what are
go
we doing
forward.
again?